Hello, my name is Charles Winfield. Today I'll be presenting Module 3 assignment for Cwcbxx Front-End Web Development 1 Genesis Collaboration. The assignment is to update the colors on the Rocket Elevator website to meet brand standards, integrate APIs using the post and get methods. Stay tuned. Okay, here's a quick overview of the Module 3 requirements. I'm just going to go over them really fast and then we'll get right into this. Update the fonts to Roboto Slab for the whole site, and then sans serif for the paragraph text. Change the header fonts to the blue color from the logo. Change colors dynamically on the request form. When someone clicks residential, commercial, industrial, the color changes based on that. Change gray background elements to be blue. Enlarge 1976 and change the color to red throughout the site. Create form validation and add post requests to the contact form. Create HTML table for agents with a rating of 95 or higher that populates from a GET request. All right, stay tuned. I'll be going over these things with you momentarily. All right, we're on the home page of the Rocket Elevator website after we've made the revisions here. So as you can see, all the headlines here are blue from the logo. Went in and changed the H3 elements. The text is all Roboto Slab with Roboto sans serif as the paragraph text. Changed Saturday down here to bold, a little bit larger because the opening time was larger. Changed the footer color down here. I used the gradient using the brand standard colors. And also this background was gray, and now it is blue. So those are the color, some of the theme requirements that needed to be changed. So we've accomplished that. The next thing that we wanted to do was work on the contact form. We wanted it to validate and also send a fetch request to an API, basically posting the data from the contact form to the site. And another requirement here was that this could only accept images. So we're going to select on this here. It accepts image files only. If we go to any other document types, it won't accept anything but images. So that's one of the requirements there. And then we also, we want to make sure that this works. So on the success message, we have all the input from the contact form to post. And then also over here, if we do an inspect element in the console log over here, we have the fetch request, post request successful, and here's all the information that is acquired here that was put in from the contact form. So it is a success and it is good to go. All right, the next thing we're going to look at here is to make sure the form validates when there is no input. All right, so as you can see, there's validation fields required for all required field forms. The form will not submit unless information is filled in. So we've met that requirement. The next thing we're going to look at is the request quote form. I'm sorry, the residential agents table on the residential page. The requirement was to have a table that returned from the API using the get method a list of agents who had a rating score of 95 or higher. As you can see, we have those agents listed here, 95 or higher, and I'll explain this in the code momentarily. You can sort these alphabetically by the first name. You can sort them alphabetically by the last name. You could sort them by the rating scores here. You can also sort them by the fee, and you can also select a region. So that requirement's been met. And again, we changed the footer here and we added red 1976 to this, and we changed the breadcrumb header section up here to blue. All right, next page we're going to look at is the commercial page. Again, we just changed this to 1976 and made sure all the headings were in the blue from the logo. So that's been accomplished. All right, and the next thing here is going to be our request a quote. So we just had some CSS styling changes here. Number one, we wanted to make sure on residential, we wanted the shade of the card header to be light blue. And then for commercial, we wanted it to be light red. Well, let's scroll down, make sure we got it all there. All right, light red for commercial. And then also gray for industrial. So we're all set there. Those were the requirements of the project. Now we're going to get into the code. All right, we're inside Visual Studio Code. We're just going to go inside the code real quick. We've got 4 HTML pages: the index, the residential, commercial, and quote. I created separate files for the agents table. We got the agents JavaScript, and then we got the agents table CSS. And then for the contact form, this is a separate JavaScript file to control the contact form. And then the colors for the request form, we have a separate file for that. Also for the CSS, we have separate files. This is basically where I change the font, change the header selections globally for the website. Then the agents table, this is specific styling for the arrows, the background, the table layout, and also use JavaScript to change some of these fields dynamically. I have a separate file for the agents table, and we'll start there. The agents table, basically, we created some variables here, and then we populated those with the fetch request that returned an object, created a arrow function here to basically go through the list of agents and just return those with the rating of 95 or higher. And then we created some filter options here in the table, which is basically how we sorted and filtered by region and by first name, last name, rating, and fee. So that's pretty much the logic here. The main takeaway on this page was obviously doing the fetch request, putting it into an object, and then returning it into variables, and then we were able to manipulate those variables here. This is how we created the region options. We had to do 2 separate variables. One, the region options were not to be sorted, they were to be filtered. So we had those put into a separate variable, and they appear on the pop-up screen. And that's pretty much it. For the contact form, we use a little bit of jQuery. We use some JavaScript here. jQuery already had the validate feature on there. So basically, when the form is submitted here, we have some event listeners that go on submit, and then this collects the data here, and then we also sent this data to the API here. So this is how we sent the data. This is how we converted it and communicated it. It was looking for very specific information. I had a couple challenges there because even though I was returning the information, it wasn't exactly spelled out the way it was looking for. So it was throwing an error here. I've got console logs in here just in case something ever happens. It will go to the console log, and it's easier to find. But this is what we have, what I showed on the home page here. Post request successful, and then it shows what was actually submitted. And then we have the success modal. So basically, the same information that goes into the post API also comes back in the success modal. So there's separate coding for that. Basically, we just took the input and showed the same fields down here. Um, we had those populate dynamically. So when the user clicks submit, they get this interaction window that comes up and shows them that information. So on the quote colors on the request quote page, this is just ultimately how we change the colors here. These were the 4 IDs that we used as selectors. And then we did if else statements to get those to change the color. So if residential was selected, we got the light blue. If if commercial was selected, we got the light red. And if industrial was selected, then we got the gray. So that's pretty much it there. It's all based on event listeners. So that is the conclusion of the presentation. And I'm going to do a quick recap and we'll see you on the next module.
All right, so that concludes the presentation for Module 3. My big takeaways here, my conclusion, I learned how to create and debug posts and get API requests. Learn how to change HTML elements dynamically, with the request quote form. Learn more about CSS, global, local, and inline styles. Learn how to populate HTML table with elements from a GET request. So we went over those things. It was definitely an interesting assignment. The APIs do look for very specific information. I learned that it has to be exactly what the API is looking for, and there's no deviation with that. But you can manipulate and style the information when you receive it from a GET request. So that's all. That concludes Module 3. Have a good day.